All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back live on Crossfire with SP and Gabi. Before I introduce our special guest today, I just want to thank our Patreon members. Our one alpha, Zane William Misley, plus our two major sponsors. We have Arm Assassin Strength Shop, which I see Gabi, you're rocking the gear again. I'm still waiting on mine. The mail is slow. And our other sponsor is Garage Door Guys in KC. That's Brian Kerner. And our guest today should be no stranger to the arm wrestling world and arm wrestling fans. He's coming off of his recent trip to the Top 8 event. Mr. Joe Fox. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a big honor.
Man. No worries, man. So let's start about maybe talk a little bit about how you ended up going over to that PAL event and kind of your journey so far, and then we'll dig into the event itself.
Okay, well, basically I was just going over to compete at the IFA Worlds, and that was my goal. I didn't go in real good shape, so I just wanted to go over there and do the Masters class and just go over there and compete, really. I had no intention of going there. In September even, I wasn't really planning on going to Worlds, but a buddy of mine from there convinced me to come over. So the training, I was coming off an injury. That's kind of why I was a little iffy about going. And about end of August, I started feeling good again, got some power back, and figured what the hell, might as well. So went down there, competed at Worlds. I lost my first match to a guy from Poland who ended up placing second, and just totally missed the goal on that. And then my second match, I went through a guy pretty good from Sweden, and then I actually come up against fellow Canadian Colin Vandersteen, and I ended up fouling out of the match. I had like an elbow foul and then moving in ref's grip, and so then I was out of the tournament. So it wasn't a very fulfilling event for me. So the Zloty tour was going on down there right after Worlds, so figured what the hell, I'll jump up another 5 kilograms. I'm already heavy, so jumped up to the 95, tried my luck there, and I won 2 out of the 4 matches, so I ended up placing 7th out of 16 guys at Zloty. And then once I got back to Canada here, Krill, and they phoned me up and offered me a transition match with Raymond Antonovics, and I just couldn't turn it down, even though, I'm not a 95 guy. Like, on the Zloty end of things, I should be competing around 86. But I figured, this is a big opportunity. I'm going to train hard. I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to try to gain a little strength here in 6 weeks and just go down there and see what I can do, put it all on the table. And that's what I did. And I knew going down there, I'm competing at a whole different level. Like, these guys are a couple levels above, but I know I've hardly scratched the surface myself. I'm just under 4.5 years into the sport right now, and I got a long ways to go. And I mean, going down and having an experience like that only makes a guy better, right? So that's how I went into it. Like, looking at it from my point of view was, these guys are on another level, but in order to get there, you got to put yourself in those positions. You got to compete with the better guys, and that's where my head was at. Was, maybe I can pull something off down there, but that's what I wanted to get from it. I got what I wanted. I went down there. I seen a whole different level, and now it's time to step up the training. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about this next year.
So you're 4.5 years into the sport, and you've already been banned from an organization. How do you feel about that?
Feel pretty damn good, actually.
Nice.
I went along with what the rest of my fellow Canadians, it seemed like they wanted, and it made sense to me. I don't want to be told where to go and what to do, and none of us do. So I think we made the right decisions. So I'm glad we're joining the IFA, and hopefully I can make it down to the US there in August or September and compete at the Worlds.
So you go over to, where was that event held, that PAL event?
I was in Ukraine, Kiev.
So you're in Kiev.
Yep.
Tell us about the experience of competing for PAL, because it is the one thing that I have not actually ever done.
It was a great experience for me. Like, I just loved the way they treated you. They were in good contact with you before you come over, trying to get you comfortable about coming over. And then, like Elena Kuzmich, she was just, I was blown away by the type of event she threw on down there. She's in her early 20s and she's so good at her job and what she does. So she basically, her and Carell got me over there. And once I got there, they were there. They pick you up. They get you checked in your hotel. Like, you have no worries once you get there. You're fully taken care of by them. And yeah, just like the whole event. Once we got to the venue, they're taking you, getting you prepped in the back. They're feeding you. They're just everything they did. I thought was top notch, and the stage and the show they put on was unbelievable. Like at Worlds, I've never seen a stage like that. It was like a UFC setting when you walked into Worlds. Like the Zloty Tour down there, it was just unreal. They had this nice little half stadium there. You walk in, and it's just a big light show on the stage. They had a DJ going there, lady there DJing. I can't remember what her name was, Pink Lady or Hot Lady or something. And it was just, the atmosphere was really cool. They had the music going. It got you in the mood right as you got there, and I really enjoyed it. I've never experienced anything like that. Like, it gets you. You just want to get on that table when you get there.
And during the match, how do you feel? Walk us through that match, because it looked to me like you held them up pretty good
At the start, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I held them up at the start. We slipped out first. Then once we got up there again, I felt really good. I felt like I actually had the advantage, and we were kind of held in the center of the table. And all I was saying is like, oh man, I can feel it. Like, I got him right here. Like, he's going down. And then he intentionally elbow fouled off the back, which was very smart on his part because he felt it too. So then the next match, he got a little better positioning on the go there and took me down pretty quick, like you saw. And I just found it was hard to get a grip with him. Raymond's has got a really big hand. He's a very smart puller. I tried in one of the matches. I wanted to go in for a hook to see if I could hold him up there, because that's where I feel I'm the strongest right now. And I couldn't even get around his hand. He just took advantage. And in that second match, he bled me out, as you could see from watching the match. I mean, that was his plan, and I fell right into it. Like, I'm pretty stubborn. I should have probably let down, like most guys would have probably, but I'm stubborn, and I felt I had a little bit more left in that match. But after the second match, I was done. Like, my forearm was so blown up, I had nothing I could do. So I just tried next match throwing my shoulder into it and seeing if I could hold on to him, but I had no hand for him. And he's such a smart puller, Raymond's, like, so experienced. He knew what he was doing, and he took me over in that second match, and I had nothing really left for him in the following four. So I just fought as hard as I could, and realized I got beat by a superior arm wrestler, which I'm not afraid to say, because it's the
well,
truth.
I mean, you gotta. There's not much to say other than that. No excuses or anything, and that's honorable. But you also may have opportunities. Can you talk about those? Just simply by going over there and participating.
Yeah. For sure. I'm on the reserve list right now. So as far as I know, the next event was supposed to be held in Malaysia, but with the coronavirus and everything going on, they're not so sure where it's going to be at this moment. So they want me to travel with them from what they said when I left there anyway. But basically, I'd be traveling to Ukraine or wherever they decide to hold the next event, and all the stages of the top 8. As far as I know, I'd be traveling with the group, and in case somebody gets injured or doesn't make their flight or whatever, I'm ready to jump in there. So I got to keep training, and not too sure how I feel about that. It's a lot of traveling, a lot of time, and I got a family and I got responsibilities back here. But I mean, it is what it is. It's a great opportunity, and I think at the 86 kilogram mark, I think if I go to Zloty there next year, competing there at the end of this year, I think 86 kilograms more where I would fit with my build and my ability. But yeah, 95's a little heavy for me, for sure, especially when you're going up against some of the best guys in the world. It's a big jump.
So you may actually get the opportunity to just travel around and get basically paid to go to these different venues with the possibility of actually arm wrestling, and you may never arm wrestle, but you might get paid just to tour around with the group.
Yes, that's right.
That's a good opportunity. Lots of organizations are starting to do that. Even the UFC is starting to bring in pay guys to show up trained just in case one of their big names pulls out.
Yeah, no, I think it would be a pretty good experience. I mean, I couldn't pass it up. I mean, it'd be silly to get to travel around with John Brzenk and the guys there, and you know, just to get to see that level and the opportunity to possibly get on the table with someone like Brzenk. I mean, who wouldn't want that? I mean, it's like I say, it's a lot higher level than I've competed at, and probably wouldn't be a good result against a guy like John Brzenk. But I mean, to have the opportunity to get on a table like that, like I'm looking to better myself. I realize the position I'm in right now, and that's what I plan on doing. I'm 4.5 years in, and I got lots to learn, and I plan on making my mark here in the next year or two. So.
Well, that is interesting. Mr. Gavi, you got anything on the PAL stuff?
Well, I have in 2015 I pulled for PAL in Vegas, and much like you, I have only good things, and their level of professionalism was.
Oh, I'm not hearing Chris.
Oh, really?
Oh, I can hear him. That's a problem, but we'll figure it out in a second here.
If you understand sign language, I can give that a go. Still nothing, Joe? No, nothing. I guess not.
Oh, you can only hear me. Okay, I guess I got to interpret between the two of you guys. Let me try something here. Let's see if when I re-add him in, if it actually shows up.
Can you hear me now, Joe? Nothing?
Still nothing. Better format here, though.
It is a better format.
Joe, did you click off of his microphone? And I completely understand if you did.
No, I didn't. I didn't touch anything since I got on. All I can see is you now.
All right, I'm going to get off, Ryan. I'll come back on. Sometimes that helps.
Okay, that sometimes works. Okay, Gabi's going to log off and come back in, but I'll wait for him to talk about any of the other in-depth stuff that we have. And there are a few things I want to cover because you were one of the guys that was maybe I'll bring this back up when Gabi gets back, but you're one of the guys that criticized the celebratory antics of Curtis Klaczynski at one point. And what was the comment you made to him?
Oh man, I can't even remember exactly what I said, but
something about do that when we're arm wrestling or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see if you're celebrating like that when we're arm wrestling, because I didn't like the antics at the table. I thought it was a little bit out there and disrespectful, but in all honesty, I can't really judge anybody that I haven't met personally, but that's what we go off is social media. You see stuff, and I didn't like the way he was acting, especially to a guy like Jeff, who's a pretty nice, humble guy. And Jeff asked me if I wanted that match, and right away I said, yeah.
Klaczynski?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you guys can hear each other now.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe and I bonded on that whole Klaczynski deal. If Joe didn't jump on that match, I was gonna. Good for him. Just to deal with that, I think like when we see Travis do it or an elite guy do it, what the hell? They're credible. But when you see a bum like that disrespect a guy who's trying to be humble and respectful, and it's very frustrating to watch. His antics were a joke.
Yeah, it was tough for me to sit there and watch it, but I was trying to understand where he was coming from, but I really still don't. But you get caught up in the heat of the moment. But I'm hoping in Red Deer, August 8th there, I can put him in his place. But he is a bigger, heavier guy. He is a good arm wrestler. So, I'm going to be training hard for that one. I don't take anyone lightly ever. So that's one of the biggest mistakes a guy can make. So
I recall seeing you, unless I got the guy wrong, but 2018 Nationals in Quebec, you pulled 176, 80 kg. Is that not correct?
Yeah, and that's all I've ever pulled on the national, international level. Like this year, like I said, going to Worlds, jumping up was not something I really wanted to do going up that high, but I had injuries this last couple of years, and I just thought staying heavier and not losing all that weight would be better for my recovery. So I did stay heavier and didn't go into Worlds the greatest shape. And lucky I had about 6-7 weeks to go into this match with Raymond's, because I did hit the gym pretty hard and the table pretty hard, and it showed in that match. Although a lot of people might not see that, but for me, I mean, I had nothing for him at Zloty, and I did gain a bit in 7 weeks, or just getting training hard again, right? Because it was after Nationals 2019 when I really started training again. I had some injuries in my right arm. I didn't really bring anything up for Nationals because I don't want to, I don't want to discredit anybody that beat me at Nationals, nothing like that. But it was about 6 weeks after Nationals, my right arm came back, and I felt the power I had 2 years ago when I was almost 2 years into the sport. So I've been training hard ever since that, and I still feel good. Dry needling, I mean, that stuff does miracles. That's what kind of brought me back, and now I feel great. I'm just gonna train, get stronger. I'm not sure what weight I should sit at. Like, if I'm gonna be on the reserve list, I kind of gotta sit around that 95 kg, and that's a lot of weight for me. Like, I don't feel real comfortable this heavy. I like to be more around the 195, 190 to 200 mark.
Yeah. When I saw you pulling 176, 80 kg, and you had good matches with Matt Charbonneau in the finals, and I think you took a win on Denny Dubray, I remember thinking to myself, that's one big 80 kg guy. You were a big 176 guy. You must have had to lose water for that.
Oh yeah, I lost a lot for that. I think that week I lost 20, 24 or 25 pounds.
Christ.
And trust me, it wasn't planned like that. I was actually going to go in the 187 class. That was the plan all along, was to go in 187. And the night before, I pretty much had all my weight cut except for about half a pound. And the night before, I was talking to Gord Squire and Steph Haru in the sauna, and they're like, "Oh, you're already at weight?" I'm like, yeah, I feel pretty good. I'm going to go in strong tomorrow. They're like, "Well, you might as well go down to the class below." And I'm like, "Well, fuck, I'm 188 right now." And it's like, "Oh, well, you can hit 176, no problem. Come with me and Steph tomorrow, and we'll take you to hot yoga." And, oh my God, it was hell the next day. Like, I went 2 hours of hot yoga. I did a sauna for about 3-4 hours. I filled up the tub in the hotel room as hot as I could handle for about 3 hours, killing myself in there. Hardly made it into the weigh-in, like basically holding on to the walls. And so I'd never do that again. I never want to do that again. I feel really comfortable. Like, I think on the national level, 187 is the class I should be at. So yeah, that's how that all happened. So, but it worked out for me in the end. I got my first national title. So
yeah, I'll tell you a good story. 2007 Nationals in New Brunswick, Fredericton. Jeremy Johnson, who earlier in his career weighed upwards of 220, 230. Anyway, that year he was pulling around 176, 180, and him and I pulled in the middleweight class quite a bit that year. And he goes to Nationals, and he's trying to get down to 165. So he makes 165 with a day, 24 hours left to weigh in or something like that. So then he decides he's just going to keep going lower and lower, and I think he was trying to make 143. And he tried so hard and kept missing out and spending so much time in a sauna. Ultimately, he didn't pull it all because he couldn't get out of bed because his kidneys were killing him, and he almost, damn near death. The moral of the story is, man, know where you fucking you have a target weight, hit it, and get strong. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That was my target, was 187, and when they were trying to convince me of that, I just thought, you guys are crazy. Like, there's no way I can do that. But yeah, it worked out, and never do it again, I don't think.
No.
Well, I mean, the guy that I think I've seen cut the most weight is Gord Squire. He's just nuts at it, and he's got it down to a science for himself. But he's extremely good at it, and I think a 20-pound cut for him is nothing.
Yeah, he does them all the time.
So what is next for you, Joe? I assume you guys have provincials coming up.
Yeah, May long weekend. We got provincials here in Grand Prairie, so we're just kind of getting ready for that. We're going to be doing an amateur tournament on the Saturday. It's a long weekend. And Sunday we decided we'd do the pro class tournament, the open tournament, I guess, just to we're so far away from everybody up here in Grand Prairie, right? Like, Edmonton's one of the closest places, and it's still 4.5, 5 hours away. So it's good to have it on the long weekend, give them a travel day before and then a travel day after. So that's that. And then besides that, there's a couple battle zones coming up, and they've asked me to defend my belt, but I think I might have to relinquish the belt because I can't make them. Like, a guy can only take off so much time off of work, and every one of these tournaments this year so far has been on my shift. Right, I get every second weekend off, so it's not working out for me. I might have to give that back, but I kind of got to keep my days off open for depending on what happens here with the top 8. So it kind of sucks that way because I really like hitting these local tournaments and battle zones. Really, where I got my start in arm wrestling. That was one of the things I was shooting for years ago. That was one of my goals when I first started arm wrestling. You know, I saw guys like T-Bach and Miller and Looker and all these guys and thought, I want to be one of those guys one day. I want to hold the belt. So it's kind of a, it's a special thing to me to have the belt, and I'd like to keep it if I can, but if not, I guess I'll give her back. But we'll see. Cranbrook, I think, is April 24th. So I'd really like to go down there and visit with some of the boys down there that I was at Worlds with. And
there's a comment. The comment section says American work politics is pure slavery. Not realizing there's 3 Canadians on the show. It's way worse in Canada.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
who would it be? Battle Zone. Who would it be? Who would be the guy?
Well, from what I was told here last, it was going to be Neil Looker, which I really wanted that match because he was actually the first guy I ever really saw pull. Like, my first tournament back in, I think it was 2015 at the West Edmonton Mall, one of the Edmonton Extreme tournaments. Neil Looker was pulling Dan Gallo in super match, left and right. So I just saw the intensity that they both brought to the table. And Neil Looker, right from that day, I just really loved the guy. Like, I thought, you know what, this is awesome. Like, this is what arm wrestling is. He comes all fired up, and he puts everything he has on that table. Like, he just gives her, right? So when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, this guy's awesome. I got to get to know this guy and arm wrestle like this guy, because he has so much heart on the table, right? So that's what kind of got me into it. And then so for me to get to pull maybe in Cranbrook against kind of the guy who was my idol when I first started there, being Neil, I mean, I'd love to pull him in a match.
Do you know the history with Neil? He's from Ontario, and he was banned from Ontario arm wrestling for years. Do you know about that?
See, I never heard any of that. No.
I was around. I was on the CAWF when that happened. Actually, was I? I was involved somehow because I was running some of the message boards and websites. But Neil had some stuff going on, and in hindsight, I think that he was calling people on their bullshit, and it seemed to be legit. The way he did it, though, is what got him in trouble.
Oh, really? Huh. I'm gonna have to ask him about that.
Yeah, you should ask him about that. There's a good story there.
He seems like he's such a nice guy, right? And he tells it like it is, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the original message board trolls.
Oh, yeah? Is that where you started, Gobby?
It was him and one of his buddies. Him and one. There was another guy. I can't remember the other guy's name. He got banned too. But Neil's the only one that hung around out of the two of them.
Nice.
And Neil is one of the more underrated arm wrestlers in Canada.
One of the best left-handed middleweights Canada has ever produced. Back in 2003, 4, 5, when Mike Gould Classic was, tons of money, and Travis was going up. Crazy George was there. I mean, tons of elite. Mike Solaris was going up there. It was drawing some of the best names, and Neil was, 176, 187. That guy left was just a bad dude. Right arm he's good too, but left in his prime was just
better. Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, such a nice human being. He'll be pulling Alan Fisher this summer too, so
that's right.
That'll give him some motivation.
Okay, you're coming to nationals, right? You're coming to Winnipeg, Joe.
That's the plan. Yeah.
Okay, yep. Gobby, you coming to Winnipeg still? You got that plan set up yet?
Oh, I might, maybe. Can you drive from Grand Prairie, Joe? You can make that drive, can't you? Or is it too long?
Yeah, no, I would definitely drive. Yeah, okay. For sure. I was just planning. I was going to take my kids down to pull too. So we were all going to jump in the vehicle, and hopefully my girlfriend and her daughters will go too and make just kind of a family trip out of it.
How far are you from Lethbridge?
Oh God, from here we got to be about 9 hours,
You are out there. Holy fuck! Wow.
8 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, probably 9 or so. I don't know. They got a tournament coming up here too, and it's the only tournament that actually lands on my days off. So I'm considering going down, but it's a long ways to drive, really. And like my days off, I always I got my boys 50% of the time. So whenever I'm on days off, I have my boys. So for me to pack them up and drive all the way to Lethbridge and pull them out of school for 2 days, I mean, it's tough to make tournaments up here because we're 4.5 hours from Edmonton, and that's the closest place that has tournaments.
6 hours from Calgary? 5-6 hours from Calgary?
Yeah, about 6.
Yeah.
It's about 18 hours for you to drive to nationals.
18 hours?
About 18. It took me about 13 to get to Edmonton. So tack another 5 or 6 onto that.
So she's going to be a 6-day trip minimum then. Should be 2 days of driving. And
Wow.
I did Edmonton in 1 day.
oh wow. How many hours was that for you?
Hey?
How many hours was that for you?
13 or 14, including all stops.
Yeah.
Which
Nice.
is just gas and drive-throughs. We didn't stop for a decent meal the whole time.
And what do you think of Edmonton? You guys go to the water park? And
Yeah, I like Edmonton. I've been there numerous times, but
Yeah.
you know.
And Gabi, you don't travel much, eh?
I actually travel. I live right on the border of the United States, so I do a lot more traveling in the United States. Did Michigan State, drove 15 hours, pulled, turned around, drove right back home alone. That was tough. I do a lot of Vermont tournaments, Maine, New Hampshire. Yeah, depends. Just like Ryan just bought a house, so priorities shifted a bit, expenses, stuff like that. So less free money to just throw around to go compete and stuff like that. But I'll pick and choose my events this year. Michigan State is one. Nationals are another one. Those are the two up on the definitely on the target.
Nice. Yeah, it'd be good to see you at Nationals for sure.
There's that Red Deer tournament with all the super matches, but Red Deer is just Red Deer is. I have to fly to that one, and I'm not a big fan of flying.
Well, let's chat about Red Deer. I mean, there's still more matches being booked for that event. The Saturday is full now. Jeff is booking matches on the Friday, and he's booking big matches on the Friday. I just got booked with Withers, and now Ron Bath is also arm wrestling.
Steve Morneau.
So you have a super match Friday, right? And then Saturday left, Ryan?
Yeah.
Do you love that? Do you like that idea?
I don't mind it. I mean, I've done it lots of times at Worlds. At Worlds, when I pulled the 4 classes, it's left, right on 4 different days. It doesn't bother me very much. The Withers match might evolve, though, because just like Passmore and I were going to just pull left-handed, there's some other guys that are now interested in jumping in there. And I can't say too much about it because Jeff will be upset with me if I do. But who gives a shit? He can be upset. But I won't talk about it because it's not confirmed. But there's some big and unexpected names that have shown some interest.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. So I assume he's talked to you about all those, Joe.
Oh yeah, I talk to Jeff quite often. Yeah. Yeah.
So he said you could have pulled this guy, and I said, why don't you do another 4-way? And now he's thinking about that.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate 4-way. That one, holy man! If a couple of these names that he's talking to come up, wow! Like it's already just a star-studded card. I just don't know how it could possibly get any better. But there is ways.
When are you pulling Curtis? What day are you pulling Curtis?
Saturday.
And that's right arm, isn't it? It must be right arm.
Right arm, yeah. So.
How much weight are you giving up to him? Does he walk around at 200, 220, 230? What's his weight?
I think it was posted at like 237, so it'll be close to 40 pounds. Like, it all depends what goes on with top 8. Like, if they are going to have me traveling around, then I'll have to stay up around that 95 kg, 210. But if not, I'd like to go closer to 200 and compete strong at nationals at 187, and then, be back up to 200 by the Red Deer event. And if he's got 30, 40 pounds on me, I guess it is what it is. But
It's not my style to tell someone what to do, but if you stonewall his ass, do you see yourself mocking him and giving him a taste of his own medicine? Not really your style, eh?
I don't do that. No,
Yeah.
no. I'll get fired up. Like I usually do get fired up at the table. I'll be a little, excited and fired up. That's about it. I don't put people down at the table. I don't like that too much.
Mm.
Like, I mean, if you can shake a guy's hand after and it's all good, like I try not to be directly rude to that person. I might come off as rude sometimes because I do get so fired up at the table and do my little slapping and hollering and whatever, but that's just, I can't even help that. That just fucking happens.
Oh, for sure. Not your style. I remember there was a new guy pulling a heavyweight guy. And every time he'd stop a novice, he'd shake his head and kind of like pose and, with guys in their first tournaments. And I thought that was so ridiculous. So the next tournament, I jumped up to his class and I ended up drawing him. And I posed with him, and of course he was 150 pounds heavier, and he was fucking pissed off. He was livid. I'm like, now you know what it feels, motherfucker. Now you know what it feels.
You don't even have to say anything at that point because he's so much bigger, and you just whipped his ass. So,
but just a question of it's a good way to teach someone a lesson. Just let them know what it feels like to what based on what they did to somebody else. The golden rule.
We had a tournament in a small town. And this mom and her kid showed up. This 13-year-old boy, and she was adamant that he was going to arm wrestle. And the promoter said the only way that he arm wrestles is if he arm wrestles in the adult classes. And he was super undersized. I think it was 0 to 199 in the class. And this 13-year-old boy gets on the table, and this guy coming up who's been around Manitoba for a while. And I looked at him and I said, "You got to go easy on this kid. Like he's gonna have nothing for you." And this Manitoba guy grabbed onto him, and when I said go, he slammed his arm to the pad as hard as he could. He just got too excited and did it, and everyone in the room, like all the other arm wrestlers, were looking at this guy just shaking our heads at him.
The jackass.
He didn't live it down for about 5 years. He smashed this poor kid. It was terrible, but I don't know what goes through people's heads sometimes when they're at that arm wrestling table.
Oh, you just go in a different zone sometimes, but that's a little ridiculous.
It was, and I almost wanted to foul him out of the match as the ref, but there was nothing there.
Crazy. Do you follow the wall, Joe? Do you follow that card? Do you follow that league?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I love WAL. I follow that all the time.
Yeah, I find it interesting that the schedule just came out, and I think it's LA, then four straight venues in Chicago, and then I don't know where the final one is.
Yeah, where was that?
Was one in Atlanta?
Yeah, the first one's LA, then you have 4 in Chicago, and the last one's in Atlanta, I believe. That's right.
Because they do the last one at Turner Studios. Right. So Chicago's easiest because that's WAL headquarters.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I think, and I've talked to Jamie a little bit about this, and there's some announcements coming up for next season, but I think they're going to try to kind of centralize these things and make them more logistically easy to put on.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And we're days away, I think, because I think the plan was the cards were being announced, like the dates and the locations, and then a week later, the first card, some of the matches were going to start to roll out. I can confirm that I'm not on 601 yet. The other thing, Gabi, I got to clear this up because we keep getting asked about it. Just a true or false? There is a 0% chance that you will be pulling Ryan Bowen at the bottom 8 tournament.
0%.
There you go. And let's put that one to rest. Candy says, "I'm just glad there are bigger names on Friday night. I was kind of feeling like Friday night was more of an amateur night." Candy, I think it's evolved so that Friday night is just as good as the Saturday card. We're just running out of space now, and they're kind of plugging in matches wherever. It might have to go on until Sunday. Don't tell Jeff Frank that because he'll start announcing matches for Sunday.
Is there even a tournament, or is it just like 25 super matches?
There is a tournament.
Oh, there's a big tournament. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah. Everybody's got to know for sure. There's lots of super matches, but there's going to be an awesome tournament down there for sure. And there is another big super match on Friday that not a lot of people know about, but Dane Fox and Clayton Looker. That's actually my son and Neil Looker's boy are going at her. So we wanted to, you've got to have, everyone's involved in arm wrestling. We got to have kids, got to have the ladies, got to have the men, everybody involved. So yeah, it's going to be a gooder.
Nice.
Right on.
Yeah, but
what else are we working on here, you guys? More WAL stuff? Is it going to be Michael or is it going to be Jerry? Or no, Devin or Jerry that faced Devin?
I hope Jerry.
Michael. You hope Jerry? It doesn't seem to be going that way.
No.
I do like the amount of matches that Neil Pickup has been throwing out there for discussion, but there are so many that clearly they will not be happening at the WAL.
Now, is Matt Mask RVJ confirmed, or is this something I saw? Casually?
This started on, I believe it was Neil's podcast, that they asked RVJ about a match with Matt Mask, and RVJ, there was some back and forth, and there was some banter about RVJ thinking he could beat Matt. And then Matt responded on social media, and that's where it kind of took off.
Okay.
Yeah, they got at each other a little bit on Facebook there, so.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think about that match? Who's coming out on top on that one?
I think Gobby actually made the best argument for it when you compared Alan Ford to Matt Mask.
Yeah. RVJ is top of his class, but he's taken losses to 200-pound guys, more specifically guys with hard, fast, top, high hits. Matt Mask is Alan Ford, 50 pounds, 60 pounds heavier, 40, 50 pounds heavier. That's a bad matchup for RVJ. He's a catcher, defensive-oriented. Now, against guys 195, he can look attack-oriented, but against Matt Mask, he'll be chasing all over the table. And I know that Matt will not want that match to stop because RVJ does have the arm to make him look to take the win if the match stops in a favorable position. So I think Matt's going to be super fast, super aggressive.
Yeah,
I think he's a huge favorite. Got to be a huge favorite.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there for sure. I think it's a little too much for RVJ right now, but like you said, if he stops him, RVJ's got a lot of power there. But I don't think Matt will give him that chance.
Yeah.
Here's one for you, Gobby, and this is one that Neil didn't even come up with. What happens if Sylvain Perron gets down to that weight and you throw him in there with RVJ?
Love the guy. Iconic legend, arguably the best arm wrestler to ever come out of Eastern Canada. Quebec Maritimes. But I just think he's with the injuries he's taken, he's past his prime, and the injuries have taken a toll. I don't think he's a Sylvain he was 2005, 2000, to 2010. I don't think he can no longer pull the elites of the elites. He's a grinder. Maybe he can make a good match with someone maybe that's slower and will let him get set. But I don't know. I just think he's too past his prime, and too many injuries have taken their toll. Are you talking about like versus an RVJ or?
Yeah.
Well, maybe because he's still, Sylvain's sitting around 235, 230. So that potentially could be a good match, but I still think Sylvain will be the underdog. I mean, he's a bigger name than RVJ. He has the bigger lineage, but he's a bigger
purist. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd have to say RVJ would be favored. Sylvain really hasn't done anything in the last half decade, and he's taken a lot of beatings. He's taken a lot of injuries, and his style. You have to understand that Sylvain's style over a period of 2 decades was brutal. I mean, he never won a match easy. He's maybe when I think grinder, he might be, he might make Todd Hutchins look soft when it comes to stylistics, style of pulling and how you come from a defensive position. Wrist back, shoulder committed, never ever giving up. The amount of pressure on his elbows and shoulders, at the highest of the highest levels. I just think 20 years pulling like that took its toll, has taken its toll.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I agree that he's probably got a little bit high mileage on him, but as far as interesting matches, but then again, there is no shortage of interesting matches out there for RVJ right now.
RVJ is interesting because of his arm strength. You can match him up versus heavyweights. Because of his hand, you can match him up, versus heavyweight top rollers. He's like a hybrid. It's a hybrid weight class almost. He can go either way, and he's pretty much, beat anyone he can on the wall roster when it comes to guys under 195 or 195, 200. So, and he has the muscle mass basically of a 220, 30-pound guy. So let's see what he's got in the heavier weight classes. I just think Matt. The thing with Matt is he's so fucking good at what he does. If you could stop him, but the list of guys that have stopped him,
pretty short.
Todd did it, but RVJ cannot pull with his hand back like Todd does. Todd was a bad matchup for Matt. RVJ is a favorable matchup for Matt. So I don't know if we'll see it. I don't know if RVJ wants that. He might claim he wants it on Facebook, but I don't think he actually wants that match.
I don't know if WAL would want that either.
No.
Throwing your champion in there to get beat up by a bunch of guys that are.
And let's face it, if he loses to Matt, it's not pretty. He's going to get slammed to the table 3 times, and there'll be a lot of yelling. It's not a great match to see. Definitely not.
So who do you put up against RVJ then right now in his weight class? There's not a lot of guys.
I want Todd Hutchins.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. I think everyone wants to see that.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see it.
No, I don't think you'll see it either. I don't believe you'll see it either, but it's what I would like to see. It's what most people would like to see. You'll eventually see it because they're running out of options. Eventually, they'll have no choice. But you'll see them.
Well, I think there's a list of guys you could. You got BLM, you got Danny Tesh for interesting matches. You got playbacks on all the other ones like Storm, Paul Lynn, and then all the Europeans.
Realistically, Paul Lynn makes a lot of sense because I think after RVJ, he's the number 1 205 guy.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
And he's just building so much momentum, and he has the power, he has the hand. He's got all the tools that it takes to give RVJ one hell of a match. So I think hopefully we'll see that. I would like to. I think we'd see that way before we see an RVJ Todd Hutchins matchup. But that remains to be seen.
So Joe, who are you training with down there? Like, there's quite a big club in Grand Prairie, isn't there?
Yeah. No, I train with Doug Curtis is kind of the guy that got me started in the arm wrestling. And he's been a great coach over the years. And recently here, I've been training with Mark Gay quite a bit. Yeah, usually at my house or his house. I'll go over there, get in. We got our practice here every Thursday, so practicing with Chris Evans quite a bit and Sean McCollum and Mike Dakotas, but mostly Mark Gay as of the most recent, I guess. Get him over and just that one-on-one time with him. He's got a good feel for center of the table and just different little things I've never really looked at. Like I've got so much work to do on my table presence, my setup, I got so many weaknesses, which is why I'm excited because I know I got lots of room for improvement. So I'm happy with how I've come along so far, but I've got lots of room there, and Mark's one of those guys that can help me out with that. And same with Doug and everyone else at the club. But I'd really like to move around a little bit, travel a little bit, and that's where it's kind of up in the air. It's like, well, if I'm doing the top 8 thing and I'm traveling around with them, it makes it hard for me to travel anywhere else, spend money, take time off and away from the kids and family and the girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. So trying to figure this all out right now because I would like to get to Calgary maybe and train with Bill Adamitis a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like his style and his transitions and everything is crazy. He's got a mountain of knowledge. I'd like to get to Red Deer more. Like I've only ever trained there twice, in the last 4.5 years, which is pretty bad. Like I'm down there quite a bit. I got, my mom and dad and my brothers are all down there, but I just, when you get down there with family, you intend on meeting up with these guys, but you just can't find the time, right? So I got to start making the time when I get down there and get training with Matt and uh, Benoit and all these guys down there. There's a lot of knowledge there, and like my guys up here are great, but I mean, the more people you can train with, the better. I think, anyway, right? Like,
Plus, I always find as a middleweight, the ability to train consistently with a heavier guy, like a 250-pound guy, is huge.
yep.
I want to ask you. You say you're 4 years in, and you just pulled masters, which means you got in the sport in your late 30s. What got you into the sport in your late 30s?
Well, I was arm wrestled growing up, right? Like I think about, oh man, it must have been around 2002. There was a tournament in Grand Prairie, and I had never pulled with a club or nothing. And me and a couple buddies went down to the mall in town here, and I ended up pulling the novice division, and ended up winning on the right arm, and I think second or third on the left. And then I was kind of like, okay, this is kind of cool. So I went to the club, and I just didn't like the atmosphere there at the time. I don't know if it was the atmosphere there, if it was me because I was a young guy and I was more into partying and just different priorities, right? So then 15 years later, well, actually, sorry, a couple weeks later, there was a tournament in Red Deer when I was down there visiting my brother. So I decided to go on that, and I think I placed first or second in the novice, and then never arm wrestled for 15 years again. So never had any training or anything. So ran into Doug Curtis at our Eastlink Center here, the big sports center, and I happened to recognize him from 15 years earlier, and I said, "Hey, Doug," like I don't know how I remembered his name or anything, but he was walking by, just, "Hey, Doug," and we got talking about that tournament. He's like, "Well, you were strong back then." He goes, "You should come out to the club." So I'm thinking, well, you know what? Now I have the time now. Like got my shit together. I'm not a partier. I'm not out drinking. I got different priorities. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? This will be good for me right now. So I got into arm wrestling just like that. Started going to the club. I think the first time I went, about 150-pound guy just totally kicked my ass, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like this, 6 months from now, these guys aren't going to be kicking my ass. So that's kind of where I started. I just got me into training. I was getting the old dad bod there, and once I got going to the arm wrestling club, I just got bit by the bug, and I started hitting the gym, and I just did so many good positive things for me, and just the people that I got involved with in the sport. I was just like, is this like real? Even like this is fucking awesome. Like this is what I need to do. This is what I like to do. So I just hit my first tournament there a couple months later, and ended up winning the amateur division there, and facing guys like Scott DeRosie, and I just getting to know some of these guys. I just thought this is a perfect fit for me, and that's how it all got started. I just I love it. I train all the time now, and it gives me a reason to go to the gym, gives me some motivation. My kids really like it. They travel around with me, so I get good family time with them. So the bonding that I've done with them and the people that I've met, I mean, it just makes it all worth it. And I just love it. Like I love getting up on that table in front of people and just throwing everything out there and going psycho. Like I just fucking love it. Like
Nice.
it's no better feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta get more training. I gotta get more well-rounded. I gotta, there's just lots of stuff I haven't hit yet. Like seriously trained in the straps a lot. I just off the go, like when I went down to the top 8 transition match, and even at Zalati and Worlds, I've been there twice to Worlds, and just these guys are so fast off the go. It's like they're going before the go, right? And it's like their timing's perfect. They still got lots of this little stuff that does a lot on the table that I gotta get better at. So I just have so much to improve on, and I know there's people out there to help you, because there's no one more supportive, I don't think, than fellow arm wrestlers. Like they all want us to succeed. Like that's when I first started going to tournaments and guys are beating me. I'm like when I first started hitting the pro classes, they come up to you after and encourage you, and, oh, you're doing this good, but you need to work on this, and they're taking you on the table. They're showing you what you did wrong and how you can improve it and how you can train it. And it's just like, I don't know if there's any other sports really that does that, but just from what I saw at the first few tournaments I went to, and how guys just they bring you into their group and they want you to get better and they want to see you succeed, even if it means they're going to be beating you in the next year or two. They still are telling you all the little secrets of the trade and telling you how to train better. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons I fell in love with the sport, was just the people that I've met along the way. And I think we got a strong group of arm wrestlers in Canada. So
Yeah.
I love going around. Like, that's why I'm like, I have to go to Manitoba. I want to go there. I want to meet more people. I want to improve my game. It's important, I think, to make these local tournaments and support the other clubs. And yeah, so I try to make as many as I can. But like I say, with this top 8, it's hard because you don't know. I don't know yet where I'm going, when I'm going there, and I got to leave time open for that. So I can't go to the local tournaments, that I'd like to, but it is what it is. I'm just going to take it as it comes, I guess.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I'd like to make it down that way and pull an ESPYs tournament maybe next year.
Well, it's just this next weekend. I mean, you can start driving now and you'll be here on time.
Yeah, I wish.
Or next weekend.
Of course.
Holy shit, it's 5 days from now.
Yeah.
How's that shaping up, Ryan? Everything organized? Everything ready to go?
I mean, the trophies are sitting at the trophy shop waiting for me to pick them up. I'm going to auction off a few pieces, not auction, raffle off. I'm going to do a 50-50 draw, but the tickets are going to stay in there, and I'm going to actually give away a bunch of pieces of memorabilia that I've collected, and we'll throw into the draw from over the years. And I kind of do that at all my tournaments. A couple of pieces of training equipment, some old arm wrestling stuff that's brand new, never been used or worn, but it's from years gone by. I even found a poster from the 2005 World Arm Wrestling Championships in Tokyo with John Brzezinski and Yoshi Kanai on the front of it that I'll give away to somebody.
Sweet.
So it's going to be more than just the top 3 placings that you have the opportunity to get out there.
Nice.
Looking forward to seeing everyone come out. And Joe, if you're not familiar with the format, it is one giant open class.
Yeah, that's different. How does that work exactly? Like, you don't have the big guys going against the little guys right off the bat?
No, it's seated by weight, so it's going to just basically lightest to heaviest, probably actually heaviest to lightest. So the big guys go first, and then it'll trickle down until eventually they start running into each other when they're a little bit fatigued.
Nice.
Or not at all. One dominant guy can change the landscape of the whole thing. But I'm going to be head ref. Ward Drake is downside ref. And then I've got my wife, Victoria, Drea Boyacek, and Jamel Cleaver, who are 3 of the wives of arm wrestlers, doing all the draw sheets and announcing. And they've done it in the past and done an amazing job. So this one will actually be easier because it'll be a total of 4 brackets.
Nice.
Yeah.
It sounds like an interesting format.
It is going to be a very interesting format. Yeah, it will.
That's the thing. You get one guy in there like yourself, and you don't feel a lot of the guys, right? You're fresh 8-10 guys in.
I haven't heard of anyone that would be coming that would be a favorite to win it yet. If I was just going off of somebody's ringing my damn doorbell. If I was just going off of local guys, I mean, if you go off overalls in the past, Bryce McMillan's a guy that's managed to take down the bigger guys. He's the guy that just got a win on Mike Barrett left-handed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're talking about him.
He could be a favorite in that class. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's a neat way to do it. Yeah, you get the bigger guy wore down a bit. You got a 180-pound guy can come in and take him down. It's pretty neat.
I ran a tournament like that in 2009, and what happened was I paid cash for the top 15, and we had people right from 154 right up to 300 pounds, and I could tell you that I think 10 of the guys that finished in the top 15 were about 170 to 180 or 185. Big guys just generally don't have as much stamina, So as they get into bigger matches early against respectively other heavier guys, so it was a very interesting experiment, and loved it.
Yeah, we get a guy like you in there, like say, and you're well conditioned. I mean, you could very easily take a 260-pound guy once he's, you get beat down a little bit, and
you give Ryan 3 good matches under his belt, and I'm going to take him to the cleaners every time.
Add a 0 to that, maybe.
Yeah,
30 good matches.
Exactly.
We have it gets more interesting though, because as you whittle down, you end up once it gets to the top 4, those 4 guys face off 2 super matches, best of 5, and then the final is another best of 5. So it kind of combines tournament and super match arm wrestling. So it'll be with no ability to pre-prepare for your opponent you're facing in the super match, which is kind of like the way that WAL did their own tournaments.
Yeah. No, and talking about big guys, Alex Kurdecha, he's one guy I met down there, and I gotta say, he is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Like, one of the most humble, soft-spoken, he's a beast on the table, but off the table, I talked to him there a few times, and he's just the nicest guy. He come up to me and like, Joe, I was a little disappointed after my match. He's like, you did well. He goes, you're young in the sport. He goes, I'm going to be watching you over the next couple of years. He's like, you're a good guy. You're a good arm wrestler. You'll be good. And he just, I had never met him before that. I guess I met him at Worlds, but never really had a conversation with him. But there, talking to him, he's a massive guy and just one of the most humblest, nicest guys. He's a good arm wrestler. He's gonna do good here in the next few years. He's still very young.
So you've stood next to me, you've stood next to Matt Mask, and you've stood next to Alex Kurdecha. How big is he in comparison to like myself or Matt?
Oh God, he'd make Matt look small. Like, I think standing beside each other, like height wise, I think they're fairly close. Kurdecha's taller, but he's just a thick human being. Like, standing
6'7", 400 pounds.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. They, like, when we did the weigh-ins there at the meeting, I guess, before the matches at the press conference, the scale just said basically overload, right? Like, wouldn't even read him. He was so heavy, but he's a big man. I think standing by you, Ryan, he would still look big, but not that big. I mean, you're a huge man. Standing by you, you're one of the biggest guys I've been around, like thickest guys. You're a big dude, but he'd have the height on you by, I think, a few inches, because you're what, 6'4"?
Yeah, Matt's taller than I am, and if he's taller than Matt, because
I think he's around 6'7" or 6'7". Yeah, he'd be a little bit taller than Matt and a lot bigger. He'd be as big as SB, but a lot taller.
I know I'm going to run into him at some point.
Yeah, I could see a match in the next 5 years between those two.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Could be sooner than that. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Absolutely.
Could be, Joe.
Yeah. So, Ryan, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Canadian Nationals in Manitoba. Is there going to be anyone that's going to be able to come and actually give you a match?
No.
I haven't seen you really have a tough match at Nationals the last couple of years. I know Justin Major's coming up, and
I can't just it's really hard to say, because you got to wonder who's made the progress. Justin Major is possibly the future killer for Canadian super heavyweights. It's just a matter of how long it takes to get there.
Yeah.
So when I started, it was Mike and it was Earl. And to some degree, it was still Len Houghton. And it took me years to get past those guys. And they're still, any one of them could still be a big threat at any time. So keep an eye on Justin Major. But then you have the Chris Boschemans that are, Chris, I've arm wrestled him a lot. And he's been training with some really good guys out in BC, and he's really taking this. He's training with Mike Kadar, who's a former world champion, which is for Chris, it's going to make a huge difference for him because he was probably the most knowledgeable guy in his own group until that point. So now he's got a guy that's got some legitimate skills and some legitimate pedigree that's going to help him get ready. To the point where the only thing with Chris is he's so focused on me that he might forget about all the other guys.
Yeah.
Then you got Mark. Mark is out training his ass off, but Mark could drop to the next class, and I'm not sure why he doesn't.
Yeah, I think he'd do well there. I think he could do well at Super too. He does do well at Super, but he's he's a little bit behind you, but he's still pretty young too, I guess. He could come on here pretty strong in the next couple of years. He's got a lot of drive, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Like he's closer to that 242 class.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a bunch of tough guys, but it'll be in the midst of my training for some pretty big events. So it's going to be tough for my goal is to get 4 more national titles and make it a nice round 25.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Put out the worlds and hopefully get a couple of golds down there.
Yeah. Is that somewhere you'd consider going, Gabi? The worlds this year?
Not this year. Orlando, maybe. Like I said, I'm just prioritizing moving into the house and getting things paid and getting set up. So I don't know where I'll be financially come May, June, but it's all possible. I just don't like to plan things too far in advance. But if I don't have to qualify, if I can just go, drive down to, it's a 22-hour drive to Orlando. If I can just drive down and compete, hell yeah, it's on the radar.
Yeah. Well, if you can't make that one, make the Red Deer one. I don't think I've ever seen you pull before at a tournament.
No.
Because you didn't pull at nationals.
No, it was 20 minutes from my house, so I showed up. But I had I had a huge money tournament. It was Cedar Shade, which was like a big money thing coming up the weekend after. So I didn't pull at nationals that year. No. Yeah. One day, hopefully. And like I said, nationals this year is definitely on the radar too. I can drive it theoretically. So.
Yeah, and you'd be 70 kg.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, gents, we're at the hour mark, so we should wrap it up. But Joe, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show with us this week.
Yeah. Thank you. No, it was a pleasure having me. And one person I didn't mention was, I guess, Igor Mazurenko. I just want to say thanks to him for making it all happen and getting me down there. And he's got just the best staff working for him at Mazurenko. They're just all such nice people. It was great to be down there. But no, I really appreciate you guys having me on the show. I really enjoyed this. And hopefully we can do it again sometime here when I win the 86 kilograms Lottie.
Well, even going down there and representing Canada, you made us proud. I mean, I was following you the whole way, and you were in tough waters, but you represented Canada well, and we'll definitely see you there again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Two things before we tune off, guys. If you guys are thinking about joining the Patreon page, the exclusive content for the month of February was actually the arm wrestling instructional video number 2, which was shot in the year 2000. I think it was actually shot in 1999. And published in 2000, but that is an exclusive Patreon member privilege to go there because it is copyrighted material. Even the tip jar level gets access to it, and look forward to that for next month. We have some interesting stuff coming up. Plus, next week, Wayne Withers joins us on the show.
Nice.
He and I are going to talk about why we're each going to win. All right, that's it.
Hopefully you get out a bit.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
Take care, boys. Take it easy.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.